Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to episode 3 of Mindful May. This is a series about your mental wellness. Remember, the month of May is all about celebrating mental wellness. It's a great buzzword out there. And we are hoping here to break it down for you so that it is something that you can relate to, something that you can work on, something that you can do for yourself and see where the actionable points are. So mindfulness is about bringing that awareness to what it is that you're doing and then enhancing your mental wellness from there. Now, this 5-episode journey is going to be around these topics. Number 1 is self-awareness. Number 2 is about your regulation of that self-awareness. Number 3 is today's episode, which is all about motivating. And our next episode will be on empathy. And finally, it will be on social skills. It is you being able to tap into your mindfulness so that you can optimize on the mental wellness benefits that comes with it. What does it do for you as an individual to be self-aware? And then move on to being able to regulate what comes with the self-awareness. Now that you know what you know, how can you self-regulate? I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. Well, today we seek to unpack two ways. In fact, it is 2 things that can impress upon this mindful motivation of today's topic as we stay true to the identity of our mental wellness. It's us taking that time, now that we know about the self-regulation, then how do we stay motivated? How do we do that from a point of being mindful? And the 2 things that I'm going to cover today are going to help us to put some clear perspective on how we can show up in doing this, because mindfulness is an intention where you focus on being aware of the things that you're feeling, being aware of the things that you're sensing, like tapping into your 5 senses without interpretation or judgment. What a beautiful place to be at if we would just allow ourselves to get into that space and sit there and celebrate that, shall I say, peace of mind, where we're being mindful about every single thought that is going through our minds. Because as mentioned in the past, these very thoughts create words, and these words create actions, and the actions create habits. So it's important that whatever we start here envisioning in our minds, and by the time we articulate them as words, what are those things that are coming out? Are they coming from a place of us understanding who we are? Of us spewing all the beautiful things that we have managed to find within ourselves in an intrinsic way where we are owning it? It is so beautiful if that is what came out every moment. So practicing mindfulness involves being self-aware. In episode 1, I gave us 2 tools. And these 2 tools were able to help us move forward to begin to even understand where the mindfulness would come from. So the first tool was knowing your emotional state. It was the emotional self-awareness. Where are you at? Are you aware of the different emotions that you experience through the day and how these emotions actually impact your actions? Are you aware of it? So we're just bringing that attention to that so that you are mindful that when you exude happiness, where is that coming from, and can you replicate it? When you are exuding anger, where is it coming from? And if you need to be angry to put a point across, how then do you replicate that? Or if you want to change that around. Then there was a self-awareness tool, which was the self-awareness assessment of you being able to understand who you are. Not what you do, but who you are. And bringing that together so that you are mindful of this self-awareness. And I hope that you had your little exercises as recommended. You want to go back to the recording and see what those exercises were and see how they're benefiting you. And for those of you who've managed to do it, I'd love to hear from you, how they have impacted you, because I'm here to learn also. The other episode that we did, which was in the last one, was all about the self-management, the regulation. Now that we know about the self-awareness, how do we show up in it? How does it become a real thing? And the question, the magic question that I absolutely love is, how should I feel in this moment? It was as though you are creating this narrative. It was as though you are literally pulling up a seat to the table and deciding, this is the emotional state that I would love to be in, and I want to be in this space. And what does that look like for you? Well, now that we know about that self-awareness and the self-regulation, today it's about motivation. And it's all about, how then do I stay motivated? How then do I always show up at that level, if not more? How do I wake up and be it? And we're going to grab a little bit more thoughts on that. Those are the two areas that we're going to be looking at, two particular areas towards that motivation to help you just navigate and maneuver in your daily life and help you. And I'd love to hear back from you. So that is on motivation. Then we move on to empathy now, our next episode. And empathy is beautiful. It's very close to my heart. And you have to be there in the next episode so that we can unpack that together. But I'll just give you a hint. We will be balancing empathy and mindfulness and see how do they gel, how do they come together to make a meaning in our mental wellness. And last but not least is social skills. Now, in all these others, we've been on our own. We've been operating as me, myself, and I, like I love to say. However, in this particular case, which is going to be our last episode, we are bringing in the environment, the people. So you need your social skills. You don't want to miss that 5th episode of Mindful May. So for now, as I said, in this session, we seek to unpack 2 things that can impress on mindful motivation as we stay true to the healthy mental wellness. And this is Mental Wellness May. And I do hope that we are bringing some value to you. Mindfulness is that intention where you focus on being aware of what you're sensing. And practicing it is an art that you need to be aware of and you need to be present to. So then you ask, how do I then stay motivated? How do I stay motivated, Lucy? Well, let's jump straight into it. Jerry, it's good to see you there. Right then, I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are on mindful motivation, or what your experience is, perhaps even better, what your expectations are today. So let's talk about the paradox of life. The paradox of life. We say one thing, we say another, and it's as if we are polarizing ourselves, and it's one thing or the other. I have come to realize that in life, when you say one word, there has to be an opposite. Yes, there's a synonym, but there has to be an opposite. So if you are saying to me as a child, you have been a very good child today, I know that at times you may refer to me as a bad child. So already I am doing the light and the dark of a word. We have been conditioned socially to look at either or. And this is polarization. This means if I'm not this, then I'm that. However, in today's world, as we continue to evolve, we realize there is a middle place. There's a middle place. And I began to realize about this middle place when I was learning about mindsets. And in mindsets, with the paradox of life, we are encouraged to have a growth mindset, that we need to move away from the fixed mindset, which says, this is the way I have done things, or which says, I do not see an opportunity here, or which says, I cannot do this, I'm not good enough, into a growth mindset. And this growth mindset is just amazing. It tells you the things that are possible, the positive outcomes of something. So in the paradox of life, we are shown an either or. So in my studies on the mindset and how the mind thinks, I then came to learn that there is a middle. If you are a fixed mindset person, there are days when you are on growth mindset and vice versa. However, you want to be encouraged to look at the middle. What is it that benefits you at that point? What can you apply? So the knowledge of these two, shall I say, polars or polarizing is important for you for how you're going to show up. That's one paradox in life. And I've shared with you the paradox of children, the good and the bad. Well, the other paradox in life that I would like to introduce to you, you already know it, is that change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. So we have to be mindful of the fact that whatever it is we believe in today shall one day be obsolete. Yes, you heard me right. Think back. Just think back to things that you held so true and so dear to yourself. Perhaps thoughts, because that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about mindful motivation and how to stay motivated in whatever it is that you're doing. So think back to something that, and share with me here on the chat, one thing that takes you back, and then it was challenged, and today it's obsolete. I mean, you can't even begin to start thinking that. One of the things that comes to mind for me is, the spanking of children. I spanked my children. Today, I could not even imagine that they would spank their children because time has evolved and the cane has become obsolete. Because now we have relationship building in our family structures. It's no longer about because I said so. The way we have exposed ourselves to education and growth means that we are questioning everything to understand, not to push back. Such is a paradox of life, where change is inevitable. You have to be mindful of the fact that change is inevitable, and therefore if today I say to you, you must have a plan in your life. You must have a plan. You cannot wake up and not have planned your day. And in the same way I'm saying to you, tomorrow is not promised. In the same way I'm saying to you, be present. Such is the paradox. I'm saying one thing and then I say another. Now these are the things we need to be aware of in life because, hello, life happens. And we all know that life happens. We're told the best laid plans will always go awry. Always go awry. So how do I stay motivated then, Lucy, in times of this confusion, of this darkness, of this paradox of life that you're speaking of, where there's so much contradicting information or so much information at the tips of my finger? How then do I stay motivated? Because that one thing that I have decided to do today to stay motivated, perhaps I've decided I want to stay fit and I want to go the nutritional way. And I start working on the foods that I want to eat. The seasons change. There are certain foods you're not going to have available at a certain time. And that is when you've decided to start out your program. Yes, you're very right, Jerry. It's a bit ironical, Maria. The paradox of life. That is why it is important for you to be aware of the paradoxes of life. Because society tells us one thing. But like we say in Kenyanese, things on the ground are different. So what does that mean for you? Life happens. And now as we continue to unpack this, and what I'm trying to do is just give you an awareness of what it means to have these paradoxes of life and how we can maneuver around them. I am then just reminded of my days in the corporate world. Now, in the corporate world, we had plans and plans and plans for plans and plans for plans. There was even a continual business plan. But you start out with this one business plan and you have a strategy and you have a game plan of how you're going to execute. In all this, a good plan is going to have a crisis management aspect to it. In layman terms, that means you've got to figure out what could go wrong. What would stop you achieving what you've laid out in this business plan? Now, business people will tell you this is what they do. They figure it out, they make a plan in case that ever happens, and they prepare for that risk. So those of you who are already in business, you understand this. And trying to ignore it will not help. Here's the paradox of life, Maria and Jerry. You may say to me, Lucy, you're being pessimistic, I beg your pardon. Why don't you be optimistic and positive outlook? Why are you planning for the worst case scenario? The paradox of life. This is it. Although we make plans, we've got to ensure that we are aware, we are going in with our eyes open, that things can go wrong and therefore we're preparing. And back to my corporate world, I was in the hospitality, I still am. But my active hat in hospitality was in directorship positions. And where we ran drills, like a fire drill. So your fire drill could be in case there's a fire. It could be in case there's a flooding. It could be in case there's an active shooter. You just figure out what could go wrong in my business and then you plan for it. So we would create these scenarios. I tell you, it was scary to do it, but I can tell you from my experience, creating a crisis management manual helped us to be able to be proficient in what we did. That we even knew in the crisis that the dollar dropped because we were actually governed by the dollar. If the dollar dropped, what that meant for our room rates, our event rates, what it meant for our supply rates, it helped us to have efficient service. So we were mindful. The word that comes to mind is prediction. I encourage you to predict in your lives what would happen. Because in general, life works out okay. Despite all these setbacks. For example, if I asked you, what is your most recent success? And let's not think about big successes. Let's think about something like you decided you were going to drink 8 glasses of water in a day. And you have successfully done it. Or you've decided you wanted to bag 8 hours a night because you found you were fatigued and the doctor was telling you that, you're at the verge of collapse, burnout, and you saw one way to overcome this was to have 8 hours of sleep. And now you've managed to do it. Success. But stop right there and think about the setbacks that you experienced. What were the setbacks? What stopped you from seemingly achieving your 8 glasses of water or your 8 hours of sleep? What came in the way? What bumps ahead were there? That is crisis management. If you had known before, you would have planned for it better. And maybe you did, and this is why you are talking about your success today. But then if you didn't and you're in this struggle, take a pause and look at what it is you want to achieve and consider what could go wrong. In this way, you are prepared. It opens up your mind in a way that I cannot explain other than it gives you perspectives, different perspectives. Because in today's world, we are no longer linear. There's no longer one answer that fits all. You know those dresses where there's one size fits all? This is how it worked before, because during my growing up, when my parents said something, that's what it was. That was law. But in today, you will notice with the youth, is that there are many ways to skin a cat. There's so many answers to one need. So let's call it solutions. And one is better than the other. Another one fits another one. Whatever it is cannot fit everybody. So for us to be effective, to be proficient, we need to open up our minds, and one way is to predict. Now, I have 2 questions here that have helped me in the past, and I do hope by you asking yourself these questions, you will be able to have mindful motivation as to why you have to think in a certain way. The first question is, where is your attention? So something has happened in your life. Like I said, life happens, Life happens to all of us. And something has happened. Where is your attention? Are you thinking about the scarcity or the abundance? Are you thinking about what you have or what you do not have? Where is it that your mind is going through? What is that attention? Because remember, this is all about your thoughts. This is your mental wellness. When something happens to you, where do your thoughts go? When you're in a certain situation, good or bad, where do your thoughts go? Do they go to the loss or the gain? Or like I said, do they go to the scarcity or the abundance? Only you can answer that question. It is my hope that you pick the abundance, that you pick that space of growth. And as you ask yourself, where does my attention go? Why does my attention go there? And that is a really broader topic. But just for the sake of our session today, when you ask yourself, where is my attention? And perhaps you say, my attention is on what I do not have. My question to you is, does that motivate you forward? Or does it take you backwards? If it motivates you forward so that you can show up and ensure that you're never in that ground of scarcity, then it's working. Perhaps your thought is on what you have. So on what you have, is that motivating you to maintain in a sustainable way to keep on having that you have? If the answer is yes, then yes, you are motivating yourself. But if it is one that is saying that what I have, I'm afraid that it may run out, you're operating from a point of fear and there's no sustainability over there. So your intention in your mind and your attention is towards that fear. And that doesn't help anyone to be coming from that point. So once again, where is your attention and why is it there? We will answer differently for this, but it is what it means to you. Secondly, the loaded question for me then is, what words are you saying to yourself? Because remember, your thoughts become your words and your words become your action. And of course, your actions then become your habits. So what words are you saying to yourself? And let's just look at an event. Something has happened. And I would love for you to ask yourself, and that happening, has it happened for you or has it happened to you? The answer to that question separates the people who are victims and the people who choose to pick opportunities from that situation. Now, where you fall is your decision, but you get it from answering that question. What works? What words are you saying to yourself? Now, are you taking that situation and choosing to stay in it? Whatever it is, whatever you have chosen. Remember I talked about polarization? Whatever you choose in life, that too shall pass. Even the abundance, that too shall pass in the construct of the season. There's no permanent season. Seasons move from one to the other. They have a start, they have a growth stage, they've got a decline, and then they've got an exit. You then move into another season where you can pick the lessons from the last season and go straight into growth. The decision is yours. You just need to be asking yourself, what do I learn from this? What emotion should I experience when I'm in this space? And therefore you're owning the narrative. Because the paradox of life can be very confusing. When you ask yourself these questions and you're answering them, what you're actually doing is you're developing this motivation in your life. It's a motivational state, so to speak. Because we all encounter problems or challenges, whatever word you're going to use. It's how we deal with them that matters. Now, prediction, on the other hand, gives us a jump start. We are ahead. So if you're a group of people and you're the only one person who's considering what could go wrong and already planning on what you will do, the day that it will go wrong, because it is inevitable, you will have the bumps on the way, you're already prepared. You're already mentally prepared. You already have the tools. And I guess that's why you're here today, listening to Tuesday Talks at 3 in Mindful Motivation. You're not like the other person who's there like, what? You mean my plans really go awry, that nothing will ever work for me? That person is reaffirming their limiting beliefs that no matter what I touch, it will not work. Whereas you, when things go wrong, you see it as an opportunity to learn and use as a platform to success. Maybe somebody could drop that for me in the chat. You use it as an opportunity to learn, as a platform for success. Now, let's take, for example, the question I asked before. What can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? I share my story. In the last 3 years, so much has happened in my life. And I want to say it has been a learning journey for me. I have chosen to learn because I realize that I don't know everything. And there's so much more out there to learn. So what happened with me is I asked myself, what can I learn from this? And I applied this to every situation. And you know what happened? I realized that there are certain things I need to unlearn. Certain things that I held true that are now obsolete and are no longer serving me. I need to unlearn them. Now, when I unlearn them, I create space to learn something new. Has that happened to you? And if it has, I would love to hear from you how you benefited from that. Because I have benefited, I tell you, leaps and bounds. I was analog. Today, I am doing an IG live. I am teaching people digital marketing online. 3 years ago, I was analog with a capital A. So I have had to unlearn and therefore relearn. Learn new things. And what happens? I'm acquiring new information. I'm so much better. In fact, when you're having a dinner, remember to invite me, because then I have amazing topics for the dinner table. Because of the information that I have garnered along the way, I am changing my own narrative. My thought process is different. Like you hear, I'm no longer on either fixed or growth mindset. I have a happy medium because I know in certain seasons I will be fixed mindset because I've not worked on that narrative. I cannot be 100% growth mindset, but I am work in progress. We realize that everything that we do will one day become obsolete. That is the beauty of it. It provides for me an area of growth, an area of, or is it for growth? It's just beautiful to be able to be in that space. Now, talking about that, what comes to mind is the comfort zone. Now, the comfort zone has been depicted with negativity. If you think about the comfort zone right now, you kind of get the essence that there's no growth in that space. The paradox of life is that I beg to differ. And this is my opinion, that in the comfort zone, although it has its dangers, there are pros and cons. For me, I choose the silver lining of a comfort zone. And what is the silver lining for me? That this is a place where I am able to sit with my lessons. There is no trophy for me to hurry on to new horizons. I'm getting there. But this is my season right now, perhaps for comfort zone. I'm sitting with my lessons. I'm internalizing my lessons so that when I'm ready to pivot into the new horizons and the new frontiers, I'm able to go along with my lessons. This is a place that is a resting space for me because perhaps I've been on the run and my body just needs to repair. My mind needs to reset. This is a place that allows me to regroup. And therefore, I come from a place of mindfulness of self. By the time I'm going into the next season of my life or the new frontier or the new horizon, I'm showing up with a smile. I'm showing up wide-eyed and bushy-tailed because I have walked into this space on purpose, with intent. It has just not happened. I have taken the opportunity. So that's it. That's the one area that I would really love for you to consider. One of the areas, I promised two. So the first one is the paradox of life and understanding all this information that gets thrown at you. The different places you find yourself in life. Well, stop and just ask yourself this very important question. For you, what does it mean? In my mind, what is my attention? What am I directing it to? And if I'm directing it to this side, what words are coming from me? Well, the next one is about stress and overwhelm. Stress and overwhelm are the most natural things that a human being needs to go through because it's a wake-up call. When you're stressed about something, something is not happening. When you're overwhelmed, something is working in your mind. But how do you manage your stress and overwhelm? It is a fertile place for you to be mindful and to be motivated. So just as we're being motivated by the paradoxes of life through answering those questions, when it comes to stress and overwhelm, I just find that it is an area to develop motivational levels, or motivation levels is a better term for it. So at what level am I at, and how do I keep on showing up? Because remember, motivation is about figuring out what gets you up every day and then being it. Apply it to everything, every aspect of your life. You will find that there are values that come into play. So let's define stress for the sake of our session today. So in the space of stress, stress is about that fear of failure or of loss. It's an emotional state. Whereas overwhelm is you perhaps having too much to handle and you're not sure that you will achieve it. So these feelings take you over. And if unchecked, these particular feelings can lead to depression easily. And it happens over a long period of time. You don't realize that it becomes normal for you, stress and overwhelm. I would like for you to change the narrative in your mind and think about it as a platform for you to grow. A platform for you to grow. Take a lesson from our last episode, which was about self-regulation, of mindfulness, and freeze. I talked about freezing and pausing. Take that moment, just stop. Just stop. The world will not stop going around because you've stopped. Just stop and regroup. Think about where you are and what thoughts you want to have. Remember that magic question? What do I want to be feeling in this instant? Then that is what you start thinking for yourself. And then apply it. Therefore, you are in the present and you're operating from that present. So those are the two things. The first is to consider the paradox of life, and the second one is to consider your stress and overwhelm. The two things that you can focus on for mindful motivation as we stay true to our mental wellness. Life will happen, whether you like it or not. How prepared are you? Just figure out what motivation means for you every day and apply it. We will get stressed. You want to be intentionally present. A gentleman by the name of Jim Rohn said, the best motivation is self-motivation. So what does that look like for you? As we come to the end of our session, that is, in conclusion, I'd like to leave you with 3 takeaways. The first one is, you know it already, learn, unlearn, relearn. Google is your best friend. Go and have a look at what that means. Read up on it and share with me what your takeaways are on that topic. Secondly, is consider the pros and cons of comfort zone. Don't get driven to the fact that it is a horrible place to be. There's a lot of fertile area for growth in your comfort zone. And third but not least, manage your stress and overwhelm. It is so important for you to be intentionally present. Thank you so much for sharing this episode with me. Wanderlust, thank you. You say it has been extremely insightful. Thank you. Drop me a note there what you would love to hear about, and let's have that conversation. Remember, you have the ability to shift your emotional state. So use it. The recording of this session will be up on my YouTube channel, which is LMC Consultancy, by this evening. And I'm giving away a copy of my book. My book, which is this one right here, The Awakening Self. It is part of the Wealth Footprints. And to get this book, all you have to do is subscribe onto my YouTube channel, and once you subscribe, drop me a message on my IG right here where you are at. DM me there, and you will stand the chance to win a copy of my book. And a copy of my book does not only come like that, it comes with 2 coaching sessions. Each coaching session is valued at 5,000 shillings. If you're out of the country, it's $50. So you get a book and you get 2 coaching sessions valued to the amount of $100. So our self-paced courses are available on my website, lmcconsultancy.com. You want to hop on there too. There's Discover Self and there's Customer Service. Our next episode, which is episode 4, is going to be about balancing empathy and mindfulness. You don't want to miss that episode. You absolutely do not want to miss it. We want to be together and help to build one another. Until then, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.